Welcome to the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community Call. This is the call happening every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Today is March 10th. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a Principal Product Manager for Microsoft 365, working together with Power Platform, Copilot Studio, and many other friends within the Microsoft side as well. Now, within this calls, we always have Microsoft speakers with certain exceptions, but typically it's Microsoft speakers. So this is actually a call where the Microsoft product managers, the feature owners, the software engineers, and cloud advocates are going to show you the latest and greatest on the topics what they actually are intended to show. And today's agenda is looking like this. So we're going to have a typical recap. Bless you, or coughing. That's not necessarily the right thing to say. Bless you for coughing. Anyway, we're going to recap the latest updates and news from Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, including the exciting news actually yesterday related on Copilot and Copilot Studio Wave 3. That's a short recap, but you'll get the links directly on the chat, so you're able to access the latest updates on that one. Then we're going to do a group photo together within the Microsoft Teams Together mode. We will once again enable the cameras a bit advanced, so we will get as many people as possible in that photo. It's been having a bit of a hiccups here and there, so hopefully it works great today. Now, demos for today. Sébastien is going to start configuring your Copilot Chat declarative agent capabilities. This is part of the longer series where Sébastien is going to go through all of the different awesomeness on the declarative agents. It is one of the options which is available for you when you are creating an agent within the Microsoft 365 Power Platform, Copilot, and so on. And then Fiza is going to talk about building AI agents with Agent 365 SDK, MCP tooling and observability. Super important things. So MCP super hot and continues to be the model of kind of doing LLM-based AI APIs, which is great, and observability is really important thing as well, to be able to understand how did the LM and AI actually get to these conclusions. And then Steve Pucelik is going to talk about compliance in SharePoint Embedded. Use what you already own. So basically the compliance is built in within the SharePoint Embedded. Hopefully I'm not taking any statements from your presentation, Steve. I might have, but Steve is going to walk through a bit more detailed all of the awesomeness on that one. Now, quick recap on all of the links, what we have available, and before we go there, as we have 3 demos, I will speed up a bit, so we will actually hit the schedule from that perspective. So first of all, we do have YouTube channel. In the YouTube channel, we release all of the recordings and demo videos and all of that. Awesome thing to subscribe. We do have linking page and group for discussions, a lot of open source assets. We do have sample galleries, making it super easy to find a relevant sample for Microsoft or community from a one centralized location. And there's a lot of URLs to remember. Luckily, AKMS Community Home, Community MS is the one location where those 2 URLs go to the same location. From there, you'll find all of the needed details to get more insights on what is happening within the world, including all of the different community calls. Now, about those community calls. So every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Tuesday, Pacific time. Today it's 8 a.m. Pacific time on summertime, which means that the timing is a bit off for Europeans until Europe most of the summertime. But every single Tuesday, we have this call, which is with Microsoft speakers. So again, feature PMs, engineers, cloud advocates, and so on, showing you the latest and greatest on that one. Every single Thursday, we have a 7 a.m. Pacific time, which is then with community. And this is with community demos. So community are showing what they built together within Copilot, Power Platform, M365 platform, and sharing all of their learnings with other people within the community. On top of that, Power Platform monthly community call actually happens next week within this March, and then of a sudden monthly community call, which actually happens tomorrow for March. You can always go to AKMS community calls listing that will give you these calls and many other calls as well. From that listing, you can download an ICS directly to your calendar, or you can see the timing of the calls, or you can join any of the calls. So every now and then you'll be like, hey, wait a minute, what was the URL to join on the call? Go to that AKMS community calls URL. You'll find a link to click into, and you will get access on the Teams calls, whatever call is running at that time. AKMS community meetup is also a great service where you can always see the agenda advance for the calls. So you don't have to guess what I'm going to talk about. You will see the advance published schedule, an agenda from that location. Now, for a lot of those calls, we do welcome community presenters, so you can actually show what you built with my Copilot, Power Platform, Microsoft 365, and so on. So this doesn't have to be rocket science. It can be just getting started stuff based on your storytelling. So even though somebody might have actually shown something similar in the past, it doesn't mean that everybody has seen it, and every single one of us have a different story to tell. So please sign up, AKMS Community Request Demo, and we'll get you scheduled on those community calls. Now, I mentioned the samples at some point already, 2,700 samples from Microsoft and community in one centralized location. This is a spectrum from samples from Pro Code Copilot agents to skills within Copilot or SPFX solutions or Power Apps and Power Automate definition. There's a lot of different samples across multiple different areas at AKMS Community Samples. So please always remember to have a look on that one first, so you don't necessarily have to start from scratch. You can get ideas from these samples, what other people have been doing. We also have our Sharing is Caring initiative, which is there to help you to get started on contributing, presenting, or if you have any questions, these are great venues to actually get those questions answered. And we set up these also for moments like Hackathon, SharePoint Hackathon, which is actually happening. The Sharing is Caring session for that one is happening today, March 10th. David, what is this all about?
Yes, so Fiza, I'm so glad you asked. I'm such an inquisitive person. It is here to provide that guidance, and it is hands-on, it is live, and it is a safe space, which means we do not ask any or record, so you can ask any questions, I should say. Feel free to join today. We've got one starting 10 a.m. actually. I forgot to put that in there, saying today. It's just a guessing game, I guess. Nope, 10 a.m. Pacific, available to you. And you can join in that hackathon guidance. We'll have a couple more throughout the course of the hackathon. It's real laid back. It's not formal. It's just going to be an open opportunity to come in and ask any questions around GitHub or how to submit your contribution to the hackathon. Or if you have any other questions, we'll be there hanging out just ready to answer those questions. That is today at 10 a.m. Pacific, just an hour after the call. And we will also be available throughout other moments of the hackathon. And these do count as contributions when you go in and submit to GitHub, such as the hackathon. And that is important to know because you will be recognized for that through our recognition program, powered by Credly, labeled best in class by Credly for all the amazing work that you're doing. So we're back with a bunch of fun 2026 badges spanning all the technology that we know and love, things like the hackathon, special editions like the Springtime Superstar, and lots of other thematic fun limited edition badges that you can get, show off, and show that you're making a difference in the community. So if you're not registered, opt in at ak.ms/community/recognition. If you already are, we're already tracking the amazing work you're doing. So just sit by the phone and get ready to get those emails that you earned a badge. That's back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, David, from Hollywood Studios. So that's really good. He's based in LA, not in Hollywood, but close, right, David?
Very close. Very close.
Yes, only a few hours away. Anyway.
Yeah, only like 1 mile, 2 hours in LA traffic. Yep.
Exactly. Pretty much. So quick recap on all of the events. TechCon 365 happening this year. Atlanta, Chicago, Seattle might be one more in the evening, later part of the year. Atlanta coming in March 16th, which is actually pretty soon. So more details at techcon365.com. Awesome setup. Don't miss that. Now on April 21st to 23rd, we'll be also at Microsoft 365 Community Conference happening in Orlando this time, right next to Universal. So awesome venue. We've been there in the past as well. We were there a few years back for the Microsoft Power Platform Community Conference. I remember that because I was helping Jeff on the keynote on that. But m365conf.com for more details. Now, following that is the European Collaboration Summit. This is actually 3 different conferences in one, looking into having 3,000 plus attendees. More details on that one, ecs.events. So this is on Germany side of the house, or this side of the pond if you're US based. Now, followed by that one, there's also the European Power Platform Conference happening from June 29th to July 2nd. Great option if you're looking into getting the latest on Power Platform. Obviously for Microsoft, we fly in a lot of our CVPs, like for the Power Community Conference in Orlando as well. And then on top of that, there's a lot of other additional conferences happening all around the world. So communitydays.org is the location in which we want to go and double check, is there a in-person meetup closer to you? Could be in Michigan, could be in Shanghai, could be in Arlington, could be in Krakow in Poland. So there are a lot of events happening all around the world, all listed at communitydays.org as a one centralized location. Really cool. Now, we are still also in the process of celebrating SharePoint 25th anniversary. This event happened, the worldwide digital event happened on March 2nd. That was Monday last week, because that was the day actually when it was 25th anniversary of SharePoint. Now, on that day, we also started a SharePoint hackathon, which is now running from March 2nd to March 16th. So great opportunity of getting involved with the community, creating a submission. You do not need to be a developer. It is also about designing beautiful looking portals. So that could be a one submission within the hackathon, AKMS SP at 25 for more details on that one. Now, as part of that hackathon flow, we are also doing the latest and greatest on all of the different capabilities which we are releasing within SharePoint. So it wasn't just 25th anniversary, it was actually also announcing new capabilities, Copilot capabilities, Power Platform integration capabilities, and so on. So there's a lot of new announcements. Now, as part of the hackathon, as said, we actually do 6 different, well, technically 7 different live streams. We are now heading to Tuesday, 10th March, where we're going to talk about agents plus SharePoint. So that's happening today at 9 a.m. Pacific time, following right after this call. When call ends, we will go live actually in YouTube, and I will need to jump on that setup already quarter to the hour. Luckily, David is going to help me and close up. And then tomorrow we'll have Reinventing SharePoint with SPFX, Copilot and AI with SharePoint frameworks, so pro developer focused session. And Thursday is more about SharePoint Embedded on that side of the house as well. And then Wednesday, 25th of March, we will announce the actual hackathon winners. Again, 6 different categories. You don't have to be a developer. You can be a developer and get involved, submit your stories, submit your solution, and win. There are great prizes on this hackathon as well. Quick reminder, we will enable the camera or do a get them a picture pretty soon. So if you want to be in that picture, now is the time to enable the camera. I will enable that as well. So let's see how the meeting room actually will work out. But hey, we always try new things. So let me enable my camera, and then a few more slides, and then we actually go to get them out picture. So let's see how that works. Now, a quick recap on the news. So the big news this week from Microsoft side, for sure, there's 2 big things. There was the new E7 suite for Microsoft 365 announced together with the Wave 3 for Copilot. So there was a lot of new announcements actually getting released yesterday. Thank you, David, for publishing already or sharing the links in the chat with all of the attendees. So a lot of new announcements, new capabilities in Copilot, new capabilities in Power Platform, new capabilities in M365, which are all available for you, for at least from a details perspective and documentation perspective within this blog post. Again, links in the chat, so you're able to follow up on those. Now, a few more slides before we go to get on picture, but I will already quickly set up us on that mode. One thing which we also remind people is that we are also collecting our Copilot prompts and more stuff actually in our Copilot prompt library at the AKMS PMP prompt library. This is one GitHub location where you can contribute, one of the easiest locations to contribute for sure. And we are actually announcing that we are starting to collecting also skills. And the skill of the week is coming this time from Paul Bullock. And this is really a nice skill where he's actually enabling GitHub Copilot to automatically generate comprehensive documentation for a Microsoft Copilot Studio agents based on the instructions. And that prompt is actually shared, or the link to that prompt is actually shared directly, not prompt. Link to that skill is actually shared in the chat. So you're able to have a look on what does it actually mean in practice. But we are really, really cool. It's not just about prompting. Now it's all about agent definitions and skills as well. So thank you, Paul, for being the first who's submitting first initial skills in this side. And then it is time to go to the get them a picture. So now we are actually doing that. I can already see a few people in the chat. I will move the camera in a second there. If you enable the camera, you will be popping there as well. I don't like the default setup, so I will set up that one a bit. Let me put you in here and let me start a Camtasia so you can actually see what we're doing. Let's wait a few more seconds. We do have 50 seats in the room, so we can actually sell that. Peter Paul is in the front row. A lot of familiar faces here and there. David is waving hands. We're warming up. Few more seats free. Are we going to get them? Are we going to get them? Maybe not. Okay, we do have 3 demos today, so let's actually get moving on this one. So let's do 1, 2, 3, and let's do some hand waving. Thank you for joining. Now, thank you for joining. Awesome to have you here, and thank you for waving hands and smiling. Always cool to have so many people. Thank you, April, for joining as well. I can see you on back row almost, and Seb and everybody else. Thank you, thank you. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that and share that within the social media. Now let me get rid of that one. And then we will move into actual stars of the day. So we'll have 3 demos, like I said. Seb was going to start, then we're going to move into Fiza, and then Mark, I think it's Steve only for the last demo of the day. Let's go down to 3 one by one, and then close up after that. But Seb, I can see you on the call, and you will start.
Do that.
And I can hear you, so that's already a great start.
All is fine. Let me share my screen.
We're right on the schedule as well, so really good.
Great, and I'll make sure we stay on schedule.
That's good.
Thanks, Vista. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Sébastien. I am a PM on the Copilot Extensibility team, and today I want to continue the series we started last week about building declarative agents for Copilot Chat. My goal today will be to configure some of the agent capabilities, the ones that are kind of built in to the agent using VS Code and using all of our pro-code tooling we have available for you. So we're going to enable embedded knowledge, we're going to configure code interpreter, and we're going to do also some image generation. Even though today it seems to be a lighter set of things we're going to try to do, I really think that this unlocks amazing potential when you start using these things together, and you're going to see that in our demo. So first, let's talk about what are capabilities. Capabilities in Copilot are an array of things that basically tells Copilot what your agent can do beyond just basic chat. If you don't configure any of these capabilities, what you're going to get a great agent, but that is grounded in the knowledge of the model that your agent is working on. So if you're using Copilot Chat, you're going to get the latest models, and you're going to automatically use that. It's great for non-work related things, or it might be great for ways to brainstorm ideas where you don't want to have some of the work context as part of it, or you don't want to do some interesting capabilities, but it's definitely limiting when you really want to make it useful. So think about the capabilities as a feature menu. We're giving you a list of capabilities. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to cover all the types of capabilities we have natively in the manifest that enables our declarative agents to really showcase the value of Copilot. So you're going to have to enable, you will want to enable what you need and leave the rest off. So we're thinking about this as an opt-in mechanism. You want to say, I want to have my instructions, I want to have these behaviors, and that's it. So in that case, it's really, really easy to really build something that is tailored to your need. It also ensures that you don't get blindsided by something that the agent starts doing that you were not ready for, right? And that is something that is really, really important. You want to be able to have like something that is reproducible. Like if you want to be able to reproduce your agent, you want to be able to confirm and make sure that it's something that is predictable from an outcome standpoint. So we're going to use today 3 built-in capabilities. First, we're going to use embedded knowledge. And what is interesting is that there's another session later today on embedded knowledge in SharePoint Embed. So that's quite connecting. That's great. So what embedded knowledge is it's a bundle of documents that you can put directly in the app package. It's not something that you point directly to SharePoint, for instance. No. It's something that you just say, I want to have these files bundled with my agent, and I want that to be the package. So think about something. Maybe it is, I don't know, a list of your own personal best practices that you want to share to people outside your organizations. Well, you will be able to do that. And then it grounds the responses that you're going to get directly inside that content. And you don't need any cloud setup. You don't need SharePoint to a SharePoint site or whatsoever. You basically just need to embed these files inside the app package. And we're going to see how that later. The second, we're going to talk about Code Interpreter. Code Interpreter is basically a sandbox that is spun up in the cloud and that runs code on your behalf to do more than what a large language model can do. So it basically runs Python code in the cloud based on the context it gets and gives you either deeper analysis or can even give you some really, really, really impressive visuals of what the content is all about. And finally, image generation. You can create images via some of the image models that are available baked into M365 Copilot. And then you can generate anything. Like you can generate a banner for your team. You can create visuals. You can also just illustrate the context of a chat as an image to share with your colleagues and so on. And these don't require any real, I'm going to quote that, real code, where basically these are just configured in the manifest. You don't need external services. You don't need APIs. You don't need infrastructure. This is all baked into the platform for you to use. One thing that you might be asking yourself is, why do we have embedded knowledge and why do we have SharePoint knowledge? Well, I think they do serve different scenarios, right? If you're talking about like very few, very stable documents that are less than 1 megabyte each, which actually might actually be up to 512 megabyte. I need to check that. Embedded knowledge is a great thing. If you don't have a lot of docs, but they are very precise, very specific to the job to be done, let's just embed them, right? If you have large corpus of documents that is getting frequently updated, this is not for you. Embedded knowledge is really for something that is a lot more stable and should be potentially versioned with the app or with the agent that travels with it. So when it's large and frequent updated, well, let's just use SharePoint. If you want to have a very specific ACLs, you want to control who has access to what are the docs you want to share, what are the docs you don't want to share in a SharePoint lib, then definitely SharePoint is better than embedded knowledge, because embedded knowledge makes the documents available to everybody that has access to the agent. And if you want just to have the simplest possible setup and like the maximum portability, so you can get that zip file and share it with somebody outside of the realm of your own organization, embedded knowledge is for you. Something to note, in Copilot Chat, you have the ability to share agents with other people, the same way you have with Agent Builder. Well, in this case, it's really cool. Why? Because it's also the permissions to these files also travel. So the files are only limited to the people that have access to the agent, which makes our life a lot easier. So let's dive into the code and see how that works out. So let me open up VS Code and start from where, actually, I'm already in VS Code, and start from where we ended up last week. We had that declarative agent, which is my HR onboarding buddy. That HR onboarding buddy has a set of conversation starters and a simple instruction file. And that's it. Now what we'll want to do, we'll want to expand the capabilities. So how do we do that? First, you will find a capabilities array at the root of your manifest. And this is really where you will want to enable these scenarios. The first thing you want to enable, you will want to say, I want to be able to have that. I don't know why I did that. Go away. Okay, give me close that. Okay, so name here. I want that to be embedded knowledge. And then embedded knowledge will allow you to specify a list of files. You just format this before I just go crazy on formatting in my file. A list of files, and these files needs to be local to your package, and that's what I already have. So I have 3 different files right here that are in there. These are document file like docx that has content. We support Word, PowerPoint, Excel, PDFs, and a couple of other file types right here. And now here we'll be able to say, hey, you know what? I want to have a couple of files. Actually, it's not that. It is this here, which will have a file. I need to put the embedded knowledge / benefits guide.docx. And that is my first one. So that's good. Now I could add a second one. I can add a third one. So I will basically cover for all of the different files that I have in my folder here, which here would then become employee. Copilot should actually trigger now. Yeah. And finally, ID setup guide .docx. So now I have my 3 files that are available. I already have this agent provision, but if you want, I can just go here and just hit provision. It's local right here, and it's going to automatically deploy that to Copilot Chat with these files. And take just a couple of seconds to make sure that these are already available and indexed, so we can look for that content. So it's quite powerful. So first thing I will want to do here is I will want to go to Copilot Chat. I have this here. I'm just going to ask, how many PTO days do I get? And I know that this information is in the documents that have been ingested. And we can see it here, right? You can say, okay, I'll search for, that is kind of a hint that it's doing right now, search on content within Microsoft 365 data. And now we can see that according to the Java Insurance Employee Handbook, so now it has access to that context. Before, we didn't have access to any of that. And now we have, you're going to see how many PTOs do you have per tenure. And then you can start chatting with this information, which is absolutely powerful. I think it's something that you should be looking into to embed context inside an agent out of the box. Then second thing that I want to do is I want to add another capability. And in that case, it's name and it's code interpreter. And code interpreter will allow you to run code, but not just run code on random things. It's going to first fetch information that it has access to, in this case, one of my embedded knowledge files, and it will be able to apply some really, really powerful calculations on top of it. So for instance, let me do that. Let me continue with the PTO that I have here, and then let me go right there. And now I can just ask it, how does my PTO accrual work over my first 3 years? Can you chart it? And then it's going to do a couple of things. First, it's going to get context from the embedded knowledge. So now you see where we're adding layers of complexity here. And now you're going to see the full on coding capabilities happening here. And now it's going to do a really cool analysis based on the content that you have. And then afterwards, it's just going to accrue over the first 3 years based on the cumulative PTO days that we have and on a number of months that it goes for you. So that is really, really, really powerful, right? We were able to, with just one single thing, we were able to generate that. And then we can massage it, right? We can just ask it to be more, to do more in depth, change the type of reports, do a little bit more analysis, and so on and so forth. So with just adding the code interpreter capability, we now got a really, really, really interesting visual for anybody there. Finally, let's add our graphic arts capability, which adds the support for generating images. And that is as simple as that. Those are super simple. You don't even need, that's not what I want. You don't even need to provide any other context. They're just on, and they're now available for you to try. So let me try a scenario here where I can just basically go and do another scenario that will use the 3 capabilities together. The first, if I take 16 weeks of parental leave plus use 10-day PTO in this year, how many days will I actually be in the office? So that's a very complex question to ask an LLM. And that's really where we're going to use the context that comes from the embedded knowledge and then automatically bring it straight here. Now we're going to see that we have 244 days, and it does all of these things. And then it does that, and then it does the full calculation right from here, and even shows you what it did as a way to do that, so on and so forth. Really, really powerful. Used both. But what if I'm doing this and I'm just asking, hey, you know what? Just generate an image representing a calendar view for my leave if I start my leave on May 1st, 2026. And now what's going to happen here is going to reuse the same context that it has, and we'll pass that to the image generation capabilities. And it will come back to us as a full calendar view. Might be a little bit slow in this case because it is a diffusion model, so it's going to take some time to get to that. But I think it is an extremely powerful scenario for simpler use cases directly inside M365 Copilot. And what did we do? We basically added just these 14 lines of code, and that's it. Nothing too complex. We just instructed the agent to behave in a certain way, and that's it. Let me go back to my last slide just so you can go on and start using this capability today. You go to my last slide. So we covered the embedded knowledge, code interpreter, and image generation. On the next session, we're going to expand the knowledge reach inside SharePoint, inside Teams, using web also as a new grounding source. And if you want to try it out, it's available right now on my GitHub. I'm going to make sure to put the link in the chat right away so we can, so you get, oh, that's not what I wanted. So you guys, you can go and try it now. And back to you, Vesa.
Excellent, thank you for that one, Seb. And then let's transition right away for Fiza. We're 1 minute or 2 minutes behind of the schedule. It's okay, we might go a bit long today. Let's see how it goes. But Fiza, we can see
Great.
the slides.
Yeah, thank you.
Take it away.
Thank you. Then I will try to, in any case, try to stay on time. In any case, feel free to interrupt me if I keep going on. But yeah, so today we'll be talking about Work IQ MCP servers. So if you've noticed that it's a bit different from the official title that we had for the session, it's because the tool itself has changed a little bit. So then we have a new name for it. But yeah. Short introduction for me. I'm Fiza Musthafa. I am a solution engineer here at Microsoft. That basically means I work with customers every day, build a few demos, proof of concept, so that they can really, do something meaningful with our products here at Microsoft. But let's just dive right into it. So to start off, we will just give a quick overview into what exactly this is. When we're talking about Work IQ MCP servers, we have 9+ MCP servers. I know 9+ is kind of an odd number to stop at, but then essentially we'll be rolling out more. But what we have right now is essentially these MCP servers that work on our platform. That is, think about Word, think about Outlook, a Dataverse, and the many, platforms that we have in which our everyday work is really found in. And we essentially have these tools that can extend these platforms to really do something very actionable for you. And why this matters is because exactly what I said, you have deterministic actions that you can take in the context of these applications. So you can now work with Word files using these MCP servers. You can work with your Outlook calendar, your mailbox, whatever. And it's really good for automating standard operations that we just find in our day-to-day sort of work. And there's also the further option of custom MCP servers via the MCP management server, but that is for another day. But in terms of the specific concept of the Work IQ MCP server, how exactly does an agent interact with it? So essentially, the agent starts and then goes ahead and interacts with the tooling gateway, the Agent 365 tooling gateway. That's what really makes this whole thing a bit secure. And this then interacts with the MCP server, and that goes ahead with and interacts with the Microsoft service that you are trying to get a output out of. And this is really cool for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's really great in terms of governance, but it's also really great in terms of making something super actionable here. We're talking about automating work that we do every single day. Any odd, tedious processes that we have to engage with these platforms, we can really look into, making these a bit more efficient, really bringing a bit more personal productivity into the whole thing. And, not to mention, it's, again, the governance thing is a big part of this picture. You really want to make sure that the data loss prevention policies are implemented. We have integrations with our security tools, Sentinel and Defender for any further observability tasks. And what's also super important is the interoperability that we offer with these MCP servers. So I think traditionally it is the case that you build with Microsoft products and then you get access to the Microsoft world as well. But what we also have that's rather cool is the Agent 365 SDK, which to an extent it can also operate in a vendor agnostic manner. So you can connect to these tools out also from any agent that you can really think of, any external services. You can really connect using the Agent 365 SDK, but more so still what's more simple for the Microsoft developers is the Copilot Studio with the low-code side of things, and also Foundry with its pro-code the surface as well. And now let's get into the topic of what these tools are. So I think a detailed overview into what each of them does is obviously going to take quite a bit, but we do have published Learn documents that really go in a bit more deeper into what exactly each of these things can do. And so we have a couple of different options. We have an MCP server to the chat service itself. We also have something to mail, so Outlook Mail. You can think about doing any operations with Outlook, like sending a bunch of emails, replying to multiple threads, forwarding threads, and so on. You can think about calendar actions such as, like creating specific events, finding meetings at times that really work with other colleagues, and, just a lot of operations where, again, these could take a lot of extra manual effort in certain cases, and you're really talking about using these tools and make your life as easy as possible. And we have a solid amount of other platforms, as you can see. We have Teams, we have Word, Dataverse, SharePoint, and we are by no means going to stop the rate of development. We will further these tools, and then hopefully you guys have many more, as I think you can already notice some services are not there because we offer so many. So anyway, it's still a work in progress in any case. But also a very important thing, and it's the governance and observability part of things. So how exactly does that look like? So one part, you have it on the M365 Admin Center, and this is where you can view what like all of the MCP servers that are activated in terms of the Work IQ context. Like, maybe you have a certain policy in your org or your team where you say, okay, you know what, maybe the Outlook mail calendar isn't something to be experimented with, especially if you have a case where you're in a regulated field and everything has to be monitored. Could be the case. You have the option to, again, really work with this and then, allow or block servers per organizational policy. And you can also really apply scoped permission per agent. We'll get to that in the live demo in any case. But so you essentially have a really nice overview on what MCP servers that you are using in your org within the M365 Admin Center. We have Defender, where, again, you can go into much more detail when it comes to observability, really understanding the traces within tool calls, like understanding where the tool call come from? How did it work? Or like, what did it end up with? That way you can really kind of monitor, how the tools were invoked, which tools were invoked, and then, how, and like get a better understanding of your agent behavior really. And yeah, that's really like, we offer a solid set of solutions there. And now quickly on the developer experience, because I really do have to speed this up. And this over here, what we have is Copilot Studio on the low-code side of things. And then we also have Microsoft Foundry on the more developer-centric side of things. And you can essentially use both of the, all of these MCP servers in both contexts. And now I will quickly just share my browser screen. I hope you can see this. Maybe quick thumbs up if yes. Is it visible? Great, that's good to know. So now, right now we are on Foundry. Again, I'll just go through this very briefly. So over here, you can already see it. I've just typed in Microsoft within tools, and you can see the Work IQ Copilot MCP server, the Word MCP server, Teams, Mail, and so forth. So it's already very much available here. We can just quickly go into this view. This is a very empty agent that what I have here, but I just wanted to show the capability. So we'll just go ahead and then add the tool, and then look for Mail MCP, and then let's just see if that comes out quickly enough for us. Or you can also take its time, so that's fine. But yeah, it's right here. You can see the Work IQ Mail preview, and I can just add and configure. I already have made a connection towards it, but you might need to authenticate if this is your first time doing it. And we'll just give it a few more seconds to really get running, and then we can go on with our demo really for today. Yes, and now it has added it in. So now you can see it's part of the agent. You can it'll load in a couple of seconds, but essentially you will see what tools are available. So you can see add draft attachments, update any drafts, send emails with attachments, create a draft message. So any operations that you're thinking of doing with Outlook Mail, you can really do it here. And again, this could really elevate a lot of manual effort that you might need to do in specific scenarios. I already have a prompt prepared over here, so I'll just open up a new testing area, and I'll just send this prompt in asking to send a meeting to a colleague, to asking him how the M365 community call is going. And we will just see how that works in a few seconds. So first the connector asks me to just connect to the service, and you can see it's already immediately started with creating a draft message. And we can see, hi Daichi, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to check in and ask how you're enjoying the community call. And then this is gone ahead and sent that to for our colleague. So we can also just quickly check in our Outlook if that's actually been sent, and we can go to our sent items. And yeah, it's perfect. So it's actually been sent to the colleague, as you can say, and you can do this on a much massive scale. Like obviously for this case, I've done a very simple example, but in a larger use case, you can obviously go ahead and make it much more complex. We'll just try one more prompt before we go ahead and then pass it on to the next demo here. And I will just quickly paste my prompt here. Maybe a quick overview into what this agent is. It's essentially supposed to extract data out of the Dataverse MCP server and then use the Word MCP server. But, not to spoil any of the surprise, I think we should definitely see it live. So I've sent my prompt in. I've said, hey, retrieve the data from last month. And it has initialized both the MCP servers that's in this specific tool. And we can see what exactly it's doing for us. So as you can see, the first thing that the agent has done is immediately gone and retrieved the data that I asked for. And now I can ask for a Word document. Actually, it's going ahead and creating the Word document for us. It is part of the instruction that it should do it. It's great that it is doing it without us prompting it. And we can just quickly go into that and see how that looks like. And as you can see, that it took a single prompt, guys, and a few minutes for us to have an aggregated view of our data from last month, and then also to get a very full-blown report on this with a lot of nice observations that we can really use to make something very actionable. And maybe just one more thing before I genuinely pass it on to the next speaker. I will just also show another feature that's in part of the Word MCP server. I'll ask to add a separate @mention comment within the Word document to really improve our Q1 efforts. And then I've also mentioned that it should find the right owner for different things. So let's just see what exactly it does. And as you can see, it is pretty much doing that here. It is adding several comments in the documents, and then we can actually, once it's done, we can see how exactly that looks like in the document itself. But so far, really cool stuff, I would say. And it said it has added all the comments that we want. We'll just go ahead and refresh that here and then see if it has done that for us. Great stuff. So it has actually gone through the document, analyzed what exactly needs to be done to improve Q1 results. And then also, based on the data that was retrieved from Databurst, it has really understood, okay, who is the owner for these specific topics, and then assigned action items to each of them. So it's really crazy how these, agents can be so much more functional by giving them access to these really functional and cool MCP servers. And yeah, I think I would love to dive into these a bit more, but I think I'm also very punctually coming to an end, so I would be more than happy to pass it on to the next speaker.
Thank you, Fiza. Really, really great story and an awesome demo. Thank you for this one, and thank you for doing these demos. You volunteered for 2. We will definitely want to have back in the show whenever possible, depending on your availability. So great job in here. Good, Steve. I can see you sharing the screen. I can hear you fine. Just take it away.
All righty, thank you, Fiza. All right, like Fiza said, I'm Steve Pucelik, a SharePoint Embedded product manager. I want to focus on compliance in SharePoint Embedded, using what you already own, specifically within the Purview environment. What I want to reground us on, though, is for those of you that may be new to SharePoint Embedded, what does that really look like, and what are some of the features, functionality that you get with the platform? SharePoint Embedded is that separate partition that's in your M365 environment. So in addition to SharePoint and OneDrive, you now have the ability to create SharePoint Embedded containers. We'll talk about what containers are here in just a second. All within your M365 boundary, which means that all of the Purview functionality that we're going to talk about here today, if you have that enabled, that is going to be at your disposal. Some of the core features and functionality that we want to really emphasize with SharePoint Embedded is what we call the 4 Cs. So this is where that core storage on the right-hand side allows you to really put in unlimited amount of documents, any type of documents that you want. The collaboration portion, full Office collaboration as you would expect. So app mentioning, comments, co-authoring, full desktop support if that is your tool of preference, all available within the platform as well. Heavy emphasis on compliance. Obviously, we're going to take a deeper dive into some of the core features and functionality that are in that compliance sector. So again, the e-discovery, the auditing, sensitivity labels, those are things that we're going to focus on heavily today, all available within the content that is stored in SharePoint Embedded in your environment. Everything that goes into SharePoint Embedded, Copilot ready. We index that, we make it available in the semantic search. You can use tools like Copilot Studio, you can use Foundry IQ, the Retrieval API, all on that content at your leisure. So, all right, so let's focus on what is a container. This is the core partition, the core area where you're going to store your documents. Again, a container within SharePoint Embedded, nothing more than one site collection with one document library. Because SharePoint Embedded is API only, you are going to access that through the Graph APIs. You can have millions of containers. Each container can have 25 terabytes of document or content. So we like to call that unlimited, but scale and architect as you need to from there.
So when you think about SharePoint Embedded, it's really...
Oops. All right. So one thing I want to focus on today is on the Purview integration. Okay, so this is where we're going to really focus on the e-discovery. How do we configure an e-discovery case to take advantage of that SharePoint Embedded content? As we're interacting with content in the containers themselves, what are the audit log capabilities that we have? What are some of those activities that are captured? How do we backtrack into who did what? Things like that. And then we're going to focus on sensitivity labels. Those sensitivity labels that you have published within your environment, take advantage of those, reuse those within your content, either through the Graph API as users are adding content to the containers, or normal document interaction as you would normally suspect. Okay, so I'm going to bail on the deck here, and I'm going to start up a demo environment. So I've got a demo environment that I'm going to walk through. This is obviously focused on project management. If you've seen some of these demos in the past, you've noticed that I've got a container on the left-hand side that represents content that I'm storing for my project. I've got folders that represent organization. If I wanted to focus on metadata as that driver for displaying content to users, no problem there. As I go into my status reports, I'm going to simply click on a status report, and I'm going to edit that. So the first thing that we're going to see is the ability to apply sensitivity labels to that status report. So normally I would go in, have that open. If I'm co-authoring with someone, you're going to see them in the top right-hand corner. But the sensitivity labels that I have configured in and published within Purview are going to naturally show, and I can select those as you would normally suspect. So let's back into that a little bit further. If I go into my sensitivity labels in Purview, you're going to notice that I've got the number of sensitivity labels that I've created and published. If I go into highly confidential, I'm going to edit this sensitivity label quickly, and we are going to see what configuration we have, and then we're going to see how that interacts with a external user that I've got configured. So nothing special on the scoping. We do want to make sure that we have groups and sites. Okay, so even though it says SharePoint sites, SharePoint Embedded being part of that SharePoint infrastructure is what we're going to enable from that perspective. Controlling the access, yeah, who can control the labels, applying some content marking, all that is good. So here's where the real deep configuration comes in. You'll notice down at the bottom that I have anybody that is in my domain can co-author, but anybody that is outside of the domain, so those external users, I've created that external user group. All they can do is view content. So that means obviously when I open a document, if that label is applied, I'm an external user in that group. I'm going to have limited capabilities within that document. So if I were to log in with my Gmail account, which I have so aptly done here, you'll notice that I'm now in as my Gmail account. I am navigating to that project. You'll notice that I've only got access to one project, so that's going to be security trimmed a little bit. But if I start to navigate into the status reports that I have access to, I'm going to edit this one in the browser. You'll notice that now that sensitivity label is kicking in, and I have no edit capabilities whatsoever. So I'm pounding on the keyboard, and you can see that there's that co-authoring going on here. But because that sensitivity label is in action, I'm not able to really do anything. If I wanted to share this document externally, then I'm going to put in my Hotmail account here, right? And I'm going to do that. But if I'm not in, actually, I'm going to contoso.com. Great. So they are not in my organization. That sensitivity label specifies that I do not have the ability to share externally. Perfect. So now we know that that is controlled. That sensitivity label always will work its way into Copilot. So if you are reasoning over content and all you can do is edit, that's all you're going to be able to do is edit. Okay. All right. So from a sensitivity label perspective, content in SharePoint Embedded treated as a first-class citizen, you have the ability to apply those labels as you see fit, as you're authoring the document. Those will get saved and used within that whole experience from there. Okay. All right, so let's back into some audit results. So again, I mentioned that as we're auditing content, all of those activities are captured within the audit log. If I go into the audit log, I'm going to back out here. Couple things that we need to do as we're viewing audit information. So you'll notice that within the file or folder or site, so in this case, I'm going to heavy emphasis on site. This is where we're going to need the URL to that SharePoint Embedded container, and heavy emphasis on container. Couple ways to get that. If you go to the SharePoint Admin Center, then under containers, you're going to see all the active containers within your tenant. If I click on a project, then you're going to see that container URL. Okay, so this obviously is available to SharePoint admins if you have access to the admin center. If you don't have access to the admin center, then there is a graph call that you can make that will get you that root site so that you can put that at the end of that object ID. As you're putting that in, make sure that there's a star at the end of it. That way you get everything that is in that container. If you want to specify the SharePoint workload, you certainly can. Not required there, something to enable as well. As you're running that search, you're going to see that refresh and collate all of the results based on the time period that you have. So as I go into my audit results, you'll see I've got 139 items here, and I have specific users that are doing specific things. If I access the file, great. If I viewed the page, now you can see, okay, what is the file that I viewed, what is the user that I viewed, and things like that. So now you can get specific information on who, what, when, where, and so forth, and what the object ID was. So what specific file am I accessing? If I go to upload a file, if I go to delete a file, you can see I access that file. I do a lot of previews. I do uploading file. I recycle the file, so it goes back to the recycle bin. You can restore from the recycle bin, and so forth. So all activities are captured. There is PowerShell support for this as well. So if you wanted to only focus on a specific file, what are the activities for that file? Then there's some PowerShell commands you can run, get that out as a CSV file, Excel file, whatever the case is there, and do some more due diligence there. We've also seen customers that will put that straight into the application as well. So if I go to a view history, for instance, I can hit the version history, and now I can see the versions for the document. Or if I wanted to incorporate some of the audit log capabilities in there based on the version, I can certainly do that too. Okay. All righty, so I'm going to wrap it up here with e-discovery. Again, as we're storing content in SharePoint Embedded, that container is where we're holding our documents. That container can also have litigation hold placed on it. So as I've created my case, first thing I want to do is create some searches so that I can search for specific content. That's going to go into a review set where somebody's going to take a look at that so that we can see if it's something that is pertinent to the case, if we want to classify it a certain way, ultimately exporting that out. So if I create a new search, then I can actually, let me edit this search for posterity here. So now if I go into this specific search, you'll notice that I can add data sources or I can edit that data source. So if I edit, manage that data source, you'll notice that as I hover over the data source, that is my container that I got from the SharePoint Admin Center. So that will also be what you need to configure as you're doing the query. Normal KQL query at play here. So if you're familiar with that, great. Enter some keywords, conditions, things like that. So all of that is at your disposal. You can see some of the statistics and some of the samples. Once you're comfortable running that query and getting the content, you can add that to a review set. So the review set is something that a legal assistant, somebody with a little bit more familiarity with the case, is going to see that content, and you're going to see the results of that. And now here is my Fabricam invoices. I'm going to click on that review set. Now the list of documents that met that search criteria are going to appear, and I can determine now what I want to do with those. Okay, so now I've got this document. If I select that document, I can see a thumbnail of the invoice. So this is pulling the document out of SharePoint Embedded and displaying it so that I can make a determination what I want to do with it. If this is pertinent to the case, I can tag it accordingly and then use that to classify it. Once I'm done with that, obviously move on to the next one, and you get to see the thumbnail accordingly. So all of that is, again, first-class citizen from a content perspective, built within the Purview environment, as you would suspect there. Okay, so we've touched on sensitivity labels, e-discovery, the audit results. If you do have DLP configured or sensitive information types, all of that works as expected as well. As you're putting a document into SharePoint Embedded, if it contains sensitive information that needs a label, it will label that automatically as well. Okay, so again, from a content perspective, get it into SharePoint Embedded. Once it's in SharePoint Embedded, then manage that accordingly. One of the features that is coming is the ability to put a sensitivity label on the container itself. So if you go to the SharePoint Admin Center and you look at the settings, now you have that sensitivity label that you can select. That is something that is on the container right now. Functionality that's coming shortly is the ability for documents to inherit that label as they're being added to the container. So something to look forward to there as well. And with that, Vesa, I think I have, 30 seconds here. So we're in pretty good shape.
Awesome. Thank you, CEO. I'm filling in for Vesa at the end here. He had to hop to a live stream. So really great stuff. Thank you so much. A lot of great content there to be able to share it out and consume. So thank you to all of our presenters today, Seb, Fiza, and Steve. Excellent stuff. Love the spectrum of information that we've been able to consume here today. And we look forward to the next collection and wave of information. So thank you all. As a sneak preview to what we have going on our other community calls. So this Thursday, which is 2 days from today, 7 a.m. Pacific on the 12th, Shiv will be here talking about build a modern Power Apps gallery with tabbed filters for speaker management. Darshan will be joining us on comparing two PDF files, get a summary using Copilot Studio. Pretty cool. And then I'll round it out with introduction to Copilot Studio component collection. So if you're looking to scale some of those tools that you create within the ecosystem of Copilot Studio, then we can absolutely get that taken care of for you and take a look at how you can take advantage of that. And then next week on the 17th of March, Seb will be back continuing on grounding your Copilot Chat declarative agent with knowledges. Mike will be here on the Message Center agent, and Paolo, our one and only Paolo Pialorsi, will be talking about consuming an MCP server with OAuth 2.0 and Copilot Studio. So we look forward to all those cool sessions coming up. If you'd like to collaborate with other members of the community, you can do so in our Discord server. We've got over 3,000 members here, ak.ms/community/Discord. Nice one-stop shop to be able to collaborate with other members on different channels there on different topics. So an easy way to do that. And then we've also got some feedback. So we'd love to hear if you had any suggestions for us or you just like what you're seeing. We'd love to hear that too. It's great stuff. The recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel. If you go to ak.ms/community/YouTube, you can subscribe today. You can smash that like button as well, and you will be alerted as soon as it drops. So check it out. You can also follow us on all the socials, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, and X. The next call, as mentioned, will be 1 week from today, March 17th at 8 a.m. Pacific. Be sure if you download the invite, you will be good to go. I know with the time still changing and all that, I think there's only 1 week difference, so by then we should be good to go. But with that time change in the spring forward, it may be affecting. So keep an eye out on that. Other than that, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll hope to see you on the next community call. Bye-bye.
Thank you.